The unexpected threat. Grand Admiral Zexer of the Galactic Alliance stood motionless before the massive observation window, his four arms clasped tightly behind his back. The holographic display hovering at eye level showed a small blue planet spinning slowly in the darkness of space, an unremarkable whirl circling an average yellow star in a quiet corner of the Orion Arm. "You mean to tell me," he said, his voice deceptively calm, "that this is what's causing the disturbance in Sector 7. First Overseer Philia, her translucent skin pulsing with nervous bioluminescence, stepped forward. "Yes, Admiral. The species calls themselves humans, bipedal mammals with relatively short lifespans. Just reached space travel capabilities approximately 80 solar cycles ago." Zexer made a dismissive gesture with one of his secondary arms. "Hardly worth our attention then. A level 3 civilization at best. Schedule them for standard observation and move on." "That's just it, sir." Philia's voice quavered slightly. "They're not behaving according to any established evolutionary patterns." The Admiral turned, his compound eyes narrowing. "Explain." "They've advanced from primitive agrarian societies to quantum computing in less than 10,000 years. That's," she hesitated, "unprecedented." "Impossible, you mean," Zexer corrected. "No species evolves technologically at that rate." "The data is verified, sir. And there's more. They've survived 5 extinction-level events that should have wiped them out. Instead, they emerged stronger each time." Zexer's antennae twitched with irritation. "I want a first contact team assembled. See what these humans are really about." Captain Sorvac of the scientific vessel Boundless Inquiry considered himself a seasoned explorer. In his 3 centuries of service to the Alliance, he had made first contact with 17 previously unknown species. None had ever posed a genuine threat to his crew. The mission to Earth was supposed to be routine: observe, make peaceful contact, assess for potential Alliance membership. Standard procedure for a developing civilization. "Captain, we're picking up unusual activity," reported his sensor officer. "The humans have detected us despite our cloaking technology." Zorvac mandibles clicked in surprise. "That's not possible. Their technological level shouldn't allow for." "Sir, they're launching interceptors, primitive chemical propulsion, but they're coming straight for us. Maintain position. They can't possibly breach our defenses," Zorvac said confidently. He was wrong. The human vessels, crewed by Alliance standards, should have been harmless. Instead, they demonstrated maneuverability that defied physics, tactics that seemed recklessly chaotic yet devastatingly effective, and an incomprehensible willingness to sacrifice individual units for tactical advantage. When the first Alliance shield failed, ordered a retreat. His ship limped back to Alliance space with significant damage, half its crew dead, and troubling questions about the creatures they'd encountered. The Emergency Council chamber buzzed with agitated voices as Grand Admiral Zexer entered. Representatives from across the Alliance, from the crystalline Centauri to the gaseous Valori, were in attendance, a rare occurrence that underscored the gravity of the situation. "The threat assessment of Sol 3 has been grossly understated," Zexer began without preamble. "The species human represents an anomaly that requires immediate attention." High Counselor Eridani, ancient even by the long-lived standards of her kind, leaned forward. "You speak of primitive mammals. Admiral, surely your military might is overreacting." Zexer projected the battle footage from the Boundless Inquiry. The chamber fell silent as they witnessed the unexpected defeat of superior technology. "What we're seeing defies conventional understanding," he continued. "Humans don't follow predictable patterns. Their history is a series of conflicts, near extinctions, and technological leaps that should be impossible. Perhaps they had outside help," suggested a Medusan representative, their tentacles writhing anxiously. "We considered that," Zexer replied, "but found no evidence. Whatever they are, they developed in isolation." The Council watched as more data scrolled across their screens, centuries of human warfare, adaptation, and survival against odds that would have broken any other known species. Look at their entertainment, Zexer highlighted. They create simulations of disasters, wars, and apocalyptic scenarios for pleasure. They prepare for every conceivable threat, and many inconceivable ones, as a matter of routine. Admiral, Eridani's voice cut through the murmurs. What exactly are you proposing? Zexer's compound eyes gleamed. I propose we establish a permanent observation post. No further contact until we understand what we're dealing with. These humans are either the greatest threat the Alliance has ever faced, or potentially its most valuable addition. Dr. Lyre's research station orbited a barren moon in the Kuiper Belt, well beyond human detection capabilities, but close enough to monitor Earth. For 3 years, her team had studied humanity with growing fascination and alarm. They've done it again, her assistant reported, displaying the latest data. Another technological breakthrough that should have taken centuries, achieved in decades. Lyre studied the information on quantum entanglement communication. How? Their mathematical models weren't anywhere near this level last cycle. They call it intuitive leaps. One human had what they term a crazy idea that shouldn't have worked, but did. The assistant's tone conveyed both admiration and fear. It's their pattern. They don't progress linearly. They stumble, fail, then suddenly vault forward. Lyre's tendrils curled thoughtfully. The death drive. Pardon? Most sentient species evolve to avoid death, to seek safety and stability, Lyre explained. Humans evolved differently. They're drawn to danger. They deliberately place themselves in lethal situations, climbing mountains, diving into oceans, hurling themselves into space. For no reason beyond, because it's there. Her assistant recoiled slightly. That's pathological. No, Lyre corrected. That's humanity. And it's why they're dangerous. They don't fear what should terrify them. They're curious. She brought up historical footage of human exploration. Tiny vessels crossing vast oceans, fragile spacecraft entering the void, individuals pushing the boundaries of survival simply to know what lay beyond. In their brief history, they've created and survived more catastrophes than most species face in millions of years of evolution. They wage war on themselves constantly, practicing, learning, adapting. And when they're not fighting each other, they're imagining fighting something else. You almost sound like you admire them, her assistant observed. Lyre's expression turned grave. I fear them. And the Alliance should too. The Galactic Security Council meeting was classified at the highest level. Only 12 beings were present, representing the oldest and most powerful species in the Alliance. Admiral Zexer's presentation was blunt. After 5 years of observation, we've determined that humanity represents a unique threat profile. They are not merely advancing unusually quickly, they are fundamentally different from any species we've encountered. He displayed the comparative psychology models. Every other sentient race follows predictable patterns. They seek homeostasis, stability, gradual improvement. Humans seek disruption. They're drawn to chaos, to crisis. They thrive under conditions that would break other species. High Counselor Eridani's ancient eyes narrowed. You're suggesting evolution with a purpose. I'm suggesting an anomaly, Zexer corrected. Humans don't just adapt to their environment. They adapt their environment to themselves. And when faced with extinction-level threats, they don't just survive. They emerge stronger. The Council viewed footage of human conflicts, natural disasters, and plagues, each followed by periods of incredible advancement. Their technology is crude but ingenious, Zexer continued. They don't discover principles so much as they intuit them. They make connections no logical species would consider, finding solutions that shouldn't work but somehow do. What of their societal structure? Asked a Centauri representative. Surely such chaos extends to their governance. That's the paradox, Zexer replied. They simultaneously cooperate and compete at levels that should be mutually exclusive. They'll fight to the death over abstract principles, then risk their lives to save strangers. They form bonds across genetic, cultural, and ideological lines that defy rational explanation. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. If they ever unite fully, a Valori member whispered, there would be no stopping them. Zexer nodded grimly, which is why I'm recommending immediate intervention. We must contain this threat before it spreads beyond their solar system. And if they resist? Eridani asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. Then we face an enemy unlike any we've encountered before, Zexer replied. One that doesn't understand surrender, doesn't fear death, and will never, ever stop adapting to defeat us. The Council's decision was unprecedented but unanimous. Earth would be quarantined, contained by any means necessary. Humanity must never be allowed to reach the stars. They would soon discover how catastrophically they had underestimated their opponent. The reckoning. The quarantine of Earth was supposed to be subtle. Manipulated asteroid trajectories, induced solar flares, targeted elimination of key scientific personnel. Nothing that would alert humans to the existence of the Galactic Alliance. Just enough intervention to stall their advancement into deep space. It failed spectacularly. They've detected the artificial nature of the threats, reported Commander Vex, his holographic form flickering before the Security Council. Worse, they're responding as if they expected this. Impossible, Zexer snapped. Their detection capabilities have advanced significantly in the past decade. Vex interrupted. They've developed quantum sensing arrays that shouldn't be possible with their technology base, and they're building ships, warships, at an alarming rate. High Counselor Eridani's ancient face remained impassive. They know they're not alone. They've always known, came a new voice. Ambassador Ilara stepped into the chamber, her slender form drawing all eyes. As a member of the Empathic Corps, her insights into alien psychology were unparalleled. Or rather, they've always believed. Humans have millennia of myths about visitors from the stars, some benevolent, others hostile. Primitive superstitions, Zexer dismissed. Perhaps, Ilara conceded, or perhaps intuition. Throughout their history, they've prepared for contact. Their literature, their entertainment, their military planning, all contemplate meeting other intelligences, and crucially, how to fight them if necessary. Eridani's ancient eyes studied Ilara. You've been studying them closely. I've been learning to understand them, Ilara corrected. And I believe our approach is fundamentally flawed. Humans don't respond to threat with submission. They respond with resistance. The more we push, the harder they'll push back. What do you propose? Eridani asked. Let me make contact. Open, honest contact. The chamber erupted in protests, but Eridani raised a hand for silence. You would reveal the alliance to a potentially hostile species. They already know something is out there, Ilara replied. The choice isn't between contact and no contact. It's between controlled contact on our terms or inevitable discovery on theirs. After heated debate, the Council narrowly approved Ilara's mission, with conditions. She would have minimal support, plausible deniability for the alliance, and strict protocols for engagement. If she failed, more direct measures would be taken. Dr. Sarah Chen was having a normal day at the Deep Space Monitoring Station when every alarm in the facility activated simultaneously. What the hell? She demanded, rushing to the main console where her team was frantically working. Unknown object, reported her assistant, Alex, appeared literally out of nowhere, 300,000 kilometers out and decelerating. It's heading straight for us. Sarah stared at the readings. That's impossible. Nothing can decelerate that quickly without tearing itself apart. Yeah, Alex finished. Whatever this is, it's not using any propulsion system we understand. Within minutes, the facility was locked down, military personnel swarming in as the strange craft continued its approach. It eventually stopped in geosynchronous orbit, perfectly positioned above the monitoring station. Then came the transmission. People of Earth, began the message, transmitted simultaneously in every major language and broadcasting on frequencies that should have been impossible to access. I am Ambassador Ilara of the Galactic Alliance. I come alone and in peace, seeking dialogue. The world changed in that moment. First contact, formal, undeniable first contact, had been made. The meeting took place at a hastily prepared neutral site, a decommissioned oil platform in international waters. Present were representatives from major world powers, military leaders, scientists, and a small delegation of translators and specialists. And Sarah Chin, whose detection facility had been the first to identify the visitor. Ambassador Ilara was striking, humanoid but clearly alien, with iridescent skin and eyes that seemed to catch the light in unusual ways. She moved with fluid grace as she addressed the assembled humans. I understand this meeting represents a profound shock to your civilization, she began. For that, I apologize. The Alliance has been aware of Earth for some time, but direct contact was controversial. General Williams, representing the United States, leaned forward. Why now then? What changed? Ilara's expression was difficult to read. You did. Your advancement has accelerated beyond all predictive models, and recent developments suggested you would soon detect us regardless of our precautions. These precautions, the Chinese representative interjected, would they include the anomalous asteroid activity of the past 5 years, the unexplained failures of specific research projects? A tense silence fell. Ilara didn't deny it. The Alliance has concerns, she said carefully. Humanity is unique among known sentient species. Your rate of advancement, your resilience, your capacity for both destruction and creation. They don't follow established patterns. Sarah found herself speaking before she could stop herself. You've been watching us like lab rats, and you're afraid of what you've seen. Ilara's gaze fixed on her. Yes, Dr. Chen, we are. The honesty was startling. In that moment, Sarah realized they were dealing with something far more complex than the simple aliens arrive scenario that humanity had imagined for centuries. Ambassador, she said, choosing her words carefully, perhaps you should explain why the most advanced interstellar civilization in our region of space fears a species that has barely left its own planet. The presentation Ilara gave changed everything. Using technology that projected directly into their minds, she showed them the Galactic Alliance. Thousands of worlds, hundreds of species, millions of years of shared history and advancement, and humanity's unique place in that cosmos. Most species follow similar evolutionary paths, Ilara explained. They develop tool use, agriculture, eventually technology. They advance gradually, building on previous knowledge. Conflicts arise, are resolved, and civilizations stabilize as they mature. The images shifted, showing alien worlds and their development over millennia. But humans, the display changed to Earth's history, a chaotic, violent timeline punctuated by wars, disasters, and breathtaking leaps of progress. You don't just survive catastrophe, you thrive because of it. Where other species seek harmony with their environment, you reshape it to suit your needs. Where others develop technology to address specific problems, you invent solutions to questions no one has asked yet. Sarah watched as her fellow humans absorbed this information with expressions ranging from pride to horror. In just 10,000 years, a blink in evolutionary terms, you've gone from simple tools to quantum computers. You've survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and near-nuclear annihilation, each time emerging stronger, more innovative, more adaptable. You make us sound like cockroaches, General Williams remarked dryly. Cockroaches survive, Ilara corrected. Humans dominate, and that terrifies species that have known only gradual, predictable change for millions of years. The Russian representative leaned forward. You speak of the Alliance's fear. What does the Alliance intend to do about this fear? That, Ilara said, depends on what happens here today. The negotiations lasted weeks. Earth's governments, typically fractious and competitive, found unexpected unity in facing an external entity. Sarah, initially present as a technical expert, found herself increasingly central to the discussions, her background in both astrophysics and game theory providing unique insights. "They're not telling us everything," she confided to General Williams after a particularly tense session. "The quarantine measures Ilara admitted to. They're too passive, too easily detected. If the Alliance really wanted to stop our progress, they could have done more." Williams nodded thoughtfully. "I've been thinking the same thing. This feels like a test. Or a faction dispute," Sarah suggested. "What if the Alliance isn't as unified as Ilara presents? What if some wanted to destroy us outright, others to contact us peacefully, and this quarantine was a compromise? And now Ilara represents the faction that favors contact," Williams finished. "Which means there are others who don't," Sarah concluded grimly. Their suspicions proved correct sooner than expected. During the third week of negotiations, Ilara's ship detected multiple vessels entering the solar system. Alliance military craft, not responding to hails. "They've come to implement the containment protocol," Ilara explained urgently to the human delegation. "My mission has been deemed a failure." "What exactly is this protocol?" demanded the Indian representative. Ilara's expression was grim. "Targeted strikes against key infrastructure, technology centers, and leadership. Not extinction, but enough damage to set your civilization back centuries." The room erupted in outrage and panic. Through the chaos, Sarah caught Ilara's eye. The alien's expression held something unexpected, not fear or diplomatic calculation, but genuine regret. "There's more," Sarah realized. "What aren't you telling us?" Ilara hesitated, then spoke. "The Alliance feared humanity might someday threaten our existence. We never considered you might be necessary for it." She activated a holographic display showing a distant region of space. "This is the void. An expanding area where stars, planets, entire systems are simply disappearing. It's beyond Alliance territory, but moving toward it. Our scientists have no explanation, no defense." "What does this have to do with us?" Williams asked. "In our simulations of possible responses, the only scenarios with even marginal success incorporate human thinking, your unpredictability, your intuitive leaps, your ability to find solutions where none should exist." Ilara's voice softened. "Some of us believe humanity evolved the way it did not as a cosmic accident, but as the universe's response to this threat." The implications were staggering. Before anyone could fully process them, alarms blared. The Alliance fleet had entered weapons range. What followed would later be called the 8 Hours War. Though war hardly described the asymmetric confrontation between Earth's military forces and technologically superior alien vessels. Yet against all odds, humanity was not defenseless. Guided by information from Ilara, Earth's militaries coordinated a response that emphasized humanity's greatest strength: unpredictability. Outdated aircraft were deployed alongside cutting-edge fighters. Digital attacks were complemented by physical sabotage. Tactics ranged from sophisticated electronic countermeasures to crude but effective kinetic weapons. No single strategy worked for long, but the constant adaptation forced the Alliance forces to continually recalibrate, creating openings, however brief, that humans exploited with remarkable efficiency. From her position in the command center, Sarah watched as General Williams coordinated a defense that shouldn't have been possible. Beside him, Ilara provided critical intelligence about Alliance capabilities and vulnerabilities. "They're reconfiguring their shields," Ilara warned. "The frequency disruption won't work anymore." "Then we switched to physical projectiles," Williams ordered without hesitation. "Deploy the railguns." Sarah marveled at how quickly humans had accepted an alien ally, adapting to this new reality as they had to countless others throughout their turbulent history. The Alliance vessels, despite their technological superiority, were increasingly confounded by human tactics that bordered on suicidal yet somehow succeeded. Ships designed for warfare against conventional opponents found themselves vulnerable to approaches no rational species would attempt. Then came the turning point. A small team had modified Ilara's communication technology to broadcast directly to the Alliance fleet. Not tactical information, but Earth's history. The violence, yes, but also the beauty, the art, the countless moments of sacrifice and cooperation that contradicted the image of humans as merely destructive. One by one, Alliance vessels began standing down, not defeated militarily, but psychologically disarmed by the complexity of the species they'd been ordered to suppress. 3 months later, a new treaty was signed, not of surrender or containment, but of partnership. Humanity would join the Galactic Alliance, but with unique provisions acknowledging their distinctive nature and potential. They still fear us, Sarah observed, standing beside Ilara as they watched the signing ceremony. Yes, Ilara admitted, but they need you too. The void continues to expand, and conventional approaches have failed. The Alliance needs human unpredictability, human creativity, even human recklessness. Sarah smiled wryly. All our worst qualities becoming our salvation. Not your worst, Ilara corrected. Your most defining. What other species see as dangerous, I've come to recognize as essential. You push boundaries, question assumptions, imagine possibilities others cannot. Around them, humans and aliens mingled cautiously, but with growing ease. The first steps toward a profound transformation of galactic society. They'll never love us, Sarah mused. Perhaps not, Ilara agreed. But they will respect you. And in time, they may understand what I've come to see, that the universe doesn't need another predictable, stable species. It needs humanity, in all its chaotic, brilliant, terrifying glory. In the vastness of space, the void continued its inexorable expansion. But for the first time, the sentient species of the galaxy faced it not with resignation, but with hope, embodied in the most unlikely of saviors, the upstart mammals from Earth who refused to acknowledge impossible odds. Humanity was feared throughout the universe not just for what they were, but for what they represented. The beautiful, terrible truth that survival sometimes requires not caution and stability, but courage to embrace the unknown, and the willingness to risk everything in the face of extinction. It was this quality, more than any technology or weapon, that made humans the most feared, and ultimately, the most necessary species in the cosmos.